Hello and welcome to a new episode about Unified Contacts by glueckkanja GAB. My name is Thorsten Pickhan and with me in the studio is Jan.
Yeah, my name is Jan Petersen, also UC consultant at glueckkanja GAB. And today it's not about Unified Contacts, to be honest, in that way. It's something different.
Yeah, it's we will explain how to use the Azure Data Factory to get your data from your CRM database, for example, or your ticketing system, the contact data, this is very important, to the Unified Contacts SQL Azure service. So you can use the new feature in Unified Contacts v1.5 to search for these contacts and to get details from a third-party database. And of course, we provide a way with the REST API, so you can build your own solution to get the data into the Azure hosted SQL service. But you can also use, and it's more simpler, I guess, or we think it's more simpler, you can also use the Azure Data Factory with several hundreds of connectors ready to use to get the data from your existing third-party database into the Azure hosted Unified Contacts contact database. And yeah, Jan, I would say let's start with a short demo, hands-on, so our guests can see how to configure the Azure Data Factory.
Yeah,
amazing stuff.
Absolutely. So as you can see, we are just in the Azure portal, and if you search for Data Factory in here, you will easily find it in here. And then if you go in there, you can just create a new factory. We did it already because we had to prepare something for this demo and for others. And in there, you have the service of the Data Factory, and much more easier is if you go into the studio to configure the link between the SQL database and the other database, let's call it that way. So going into this lovely design tool, just take a second or two. We do have already something in place. So what we have already are data sets. So we do have one data set which connects finally to our SQL database. When you set up your Unified Contacts environment in your tenant, you have to provide in the ARM template the credentials to access the SQL database. So these are used again in here when you configure this SQL database connection. For this demo, we do have also a dynamic CRM system in place, so which we just configured with our practice to grab data out of this CRM system. But you can easily add more data sets, and this is SAP, it's CRM Dynamics,
Sugar CRM, different ticketing systems. So you find a lot of prepared connectors to get a connection to your database. Of course, in the first step, or focus here is on online services, but you can also add, for example, an Access database, import the data from there. So there are really a lot of different connectors you can already use, prepared by Microsoft from the Azure Data Factory. We started the Data Factory. Now the next step is to create the data pipeline.
Right. So when we are here in the Data Factory wizard, we can just click on ingest to create a new copy job, which is at the end the only thing what we need to fill up our SQL database. So of course, as contacts are not that static,
normally not.
Normally not. So the CRM system is getting updates and new contacts, and contacts are changing. So contacts are changing their details. So a schedule makes absolutely sense to have this Data Factory running from time to time. If it's daily, weekly, monthly, as you like. So we just click next. And so we just say we want to have a Dynamics source data store, and we do have already a connection. So
perhaps just to mention for our users here, when Jan open the drop down, you could see that there are a lot of different connectors. So when you're not using a Dynamics 365, there are a lot of different connectors provided by Microsoft, and that's why we think it's so easy to use the data factory here. We can connect to Microsoft services, but also to other cloud providers, and yeah.
Yeah, as you can see, Amazon is there, Google is there, Oracle, Phoenix, Presto, whatever, even as SAP. So whatever you like.
Yeah.
So then we just select our contact table and move forward. And yeah, finally, we can have a look on the data just to preview that we have the right
one.
The right one, absolutely. So we have plenty of details in here. But one thing which is quite important, we should or must add a custom column to the source database to provide information which data source it is. So we just call it source on that one and set it as a custom, and we just say, okay, this is our Dynamics 365, not 264, but 365, just to have an additional column in there, and this is shown within Unified Contacts. So if you have multiple sources you want to import to Unified Contacts or to the SQL database, you definitely know where the contact information is coming from.
Here we select the destination data store. In our case, it's an Azure SQL database, as we already prepared the Unified Contacts contact table for this. And yeah, the next step would be to do the mapping between the table set from the CRM to the Unified Contacts schema, but we will skip it here and do it later manually.
Absolutely. So again, here we just skip the mapping, and then we just have the settings, the final ones. Again, a summary, what are we going to do? And then the pipeline is already going to be configured automatically and ready to go, and even starting immediately. So this is it more or less. So yeah. One thing what you might see on the left-hand pane, we had already the data sets configured or pre-configured. Now we have 2 additional data sets, so we are going to change the source link which is used in here, so that we have just the Dynamics in here as a data set, and also the destination. We go onto our already configured Unified Contacts database, and then we can go onto the mapping and do it from here. So if we just import the schema right now, we should get our information, which needs to be in the system. So for the ID on the right-hand pane, we have our SQL data schema, and we have to map it, of course. So ID must be something unique from your CRM. And so this could be, for example, what's in CRM, contact ID?
Contact ID, yeah. In our example, it's contact ID.
So we just say it's contact ID. So display name is something we want to have, because in Unified Contacts we should just show the display name. So that's
full name.
Full name. So job title and department, it's the same on both databases. So we just keep it fingers crossed that the table on the left-hand side is correctly, but otherwise we can modify it later on. Company name would
Just search for company.
Yeah. So address, don't know, the company, it's down here. So mail address, likely something like email. So we just say email address 1, which is in Dynamics as the business email address. So IM address.
I guess there was no entry in the CRM and removed it. Therefore, we removed this one.
We are not interesting. It's a mobile phone.
I guess it's a cell phone.
No, mobile phone.
Ah, mobile phone. Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. And business phone number. Let's
telephone.
Telephone 1 likely. So and home phone. Yeah.
I guess we can remove it.
Yeah. Or we take telephone 2.
Or yeah.
And then the address full string. This is the complete full address. So it's not split in that way. And it's
address comp site.
Yeah. So then we have a street. Let's see. Oop.
And there was no street address.
Was there not?
It's address 1, line 1. Sorry.
Line 1. Yeah. Postal code. Let's see. Address type code to postal code.
Postal code.
And then we have the city, and also address 1 city and country. We will definitely have also something like country or address 1 country. And source, we have already the source, and so we have the mapping done.
When you are unsure which field would fit to which column in our destination, you can always go to source and there take a preview on the data, and then you can write down. It's directly there. Perfect. You can write down the right columns and use it to get the mapping here to work.
And so now we only have to do one more thing, and this is the right behavior of the database or of the pipeline. So we go from insert to upsert, otherwise the SQL database or the process will just fail because entries are already there. So we only have to specify a column which is unique and keeps being unique, and we just take the ID, which makes sense on a database. And so having this in place, we are more or less done.
Yeah. Final step is you can debug or directly publish, depending on self-confidence, or you can validate also, and the Data Factory will do a pre-check for you if everything is correctly set it up, and it looks good so far.
So, and then we just go on publish all, and we just publish all the changes we have done to the Data Factory, and the service is running. So having this in place, you can, let's say it takes a minute maximum, and then you can search for your contact from Unified Contacts Pro.
So I guess for this video, that's all. We showed you how to configure the Data Factory, how to create the pipeline to get your data imported from your third-party data source to Unified Contacts SQL Azure. And yeah, I think we have one video still left, how to update from the v1.4 to v1.5. Or if you are interested to see all the other Unified Contacts videos, go to our website, go to our YouTube channel. There you will find a lot of information, a lot of videos about Unified Contacts and how to use it, how to configure it. And yeah, thanks for watching us, and see you next time.
Bye-bye.